Hello and welcome to Talk Good Gaming. It's back to the Premier League after being knocked out of the FA Cup. It's West Ham entertaining Crystal Palace at the London Stadium on Tuesday. We have our votes as always, but it's a little bit different this time. There's no entry fee. The tickets are free. You can get them below. And instead, at the gate when you turn up, there'll be a bucket and all the money is going to Isla. And also in the link below, you'll see a link to Isla's fund and the online auction we're doing until Friday. But on to the game. Gonzo, Crystal Palace, what's your thoughts?
Good team. It shouldn't really be where they are, considering the players they've got. And contrary to what many people thought, they've got a good manager as well. I think Hodgson came out for a lot of stick after England, particularly in the Iceland game. But you've got to remember, it's far more to do with the English players than it is the manager. I mean, we hired Capello, who invented the pressing game at AC Milan. It was the world's best manager at the time. He couldn't do anything with our lot. So I think a lot of it has got down to those players. Hodgson has had a very, very good career. He's had relative success or has made a club stable wherever he's been. And if you give players like Zaha, Benteke, Cabaye, Scott Dan, of course, our own James Tompkins, he's got some good players there. He's got Townsend has been playing well, and he's also got some good fullbacks as well. So he's done what Roy Hodgson always does, which is produce a balanced team, right players on the right, left players on the left, and he will be able to pick players in his positions for this game, which is something, because of our injury crisis, clearly we won't be able to do.
Charlie, what's your thoughts on the Eagles?
I like Roy Hodgson. I have done for a while. I don't think he was the right man for England, but as a club manager, I quite like him. They've got players who are good enough to do well in the Premier League, but I think as a squad, they're maybe not quite there yet. They're also probably playing way too much wages for someone like Benteke. But when they're on their day, they can be good, but I think they're struggling, and you would expect them to be in and around the bottom of the table towards the end of the season for me.
Do you think they'll be safe, Charlie? Do you think they'll stay up?
Ultimately, I think they will, and I think they've got the players where if they can get it all galvanised, if someone like Benteke starts scoring, then they have players to provide him well enough, but they're struggling, and if they don't reinforce well enough in January, I think especially they're looking for a striker, then they're going to be at least very, very close.
Gonzo, when Crystal Palace's form had an upturn, one player was pivotal to that, and that's Zaha. He's been in the media a bit for his diving, but also his goal scoring. What do you make of him? Is he one of the best players outside the top six in the Premier League, in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure, and he almost was in the top six because, of course, he went to Man United, maybe just a little bit too young. But he's always been very, very good. He came up through the ranks with Victor Moses as well. But they've got a good academy down there. So they've got a good catchment area for some good mini leagues around in that sort of South London, Surrey, Croydon area as well. So there's always going to be a good crop of youngsters there. He's a standout one. I actually do think it was a little bit of a miss for England. Actually, funny enough, he played a friendly for England, didn't he? And then where'd he go to? Ivory Coast, maybe something like that. Went to the country of his parents' birth, so to speak. So yeah, bit of a loss for England. Very good player.
I think they'll be okay this season as well. I don't think they're going to be jumping into the top half anytime soon. I think they need a massive rebuild in the summer. I think they need to give Hodgson complete control of it. As you both have alluded to, actually, they've got the foundations there, but they do need to shift a few players on and get a few in there. Sakho's the one that worries me, actually. He's been in decent form recently, but Zaha, again, Hodgson sort of rejuvenated him by putting him out on the left wing. He's going to be up against Zabaleta. It's caused us trouble at Selhurst Park, and that's a worry. But saying that, they do concede quite a few goals and stuff. But let's talk about West Ham. Oh, it'd be interesting to see if David Moyes and Zaha get on Tuesday. If you don't know about that, Google David Moyes and Zaha. You'll see the alleged incident as to why Zaha got bombed out of Old Trafford. Not for this show. I don't fancy a legal lawsuit. Google it. But on to West Ham. Diafra Sakho has been sold. It's been revealed this evening that he is off to France in an £8 million deal. It's all done. It's going to be announced tomorrow, which is Tuesday, so he won't be part of the squad. Probably wouldn't be part of the squad anyway. Team news, it looks like Jose Font and Antonio is back. If they're fit enough to start, is a different story altogether. Mark Noble and Cecchiati are also expected to be fit enough for this one. Unsure about Andre Ayew, but it does look like he might be moving before the end of the window, as Swansea set to up their bid. And finally, it looks like Declan Rice should be back for this one as well. But Charlie, with all that team news, what do we do up front? Lanzini and Arnautovic has been working. Lanzini and Arnautovic are both injured.
Um, what do we do? I would be. I think we have to change formation for a start. Whoever we put up front, whether it be Hernandez or Martinez, we need to give them as much support as humanly possible. Far too often do we see someone like that playing and just not getting nothing near and around them. When it's Lanzini and Arnautovic, you have two skillful players who are kind of able to do it all themselves, but even then it's a stretch. If it's one of Hernandez or Martinez, we've got no chance. So I think we change the formation and really try and get as many players around them as humanly possible. Personally, I would give it to Martinez to start, just because he seemed like he actually wanted it in the cup game, as opposed to Hernandez, who seemed like he just wanted to go have a lie down or something. So personally, I would put Martinez up front and then play midfielders around him to give support.
What formation do you suggest, Charlie?
I would be saying a 4-2-3-1. I think that we look stronger at the back with 5, and that it's a bit. I don't trust us with a forward back defensively. I don't think we're good enough for that. I don't know why. We should be, but we're not. But personally, I feel like we need to start actually getting forward, and a team like Crystal Palace, who aren't very good at scoring, we should be able to put them to the sword and actually start to climb this league. Now, we've got no cup to go for. That's what we've got to aim for. So for me, I play 4-2-3-1.
Unlikely that's going to happen. I imagine we're going to see our 3-5-2. Charlie, a bit controversial there. Martinez over Hernandez up front. Gonzo, do you agree with that, or do you think we should be relying on the guy who's scored goals all throughout the season, however, hasn't quite worked?
Well, you're absolutely right. He does score goals, and it's not like he's lackadaisical attitude only cropped up in the Wigan game. Actually, it's cropped up in the Bournemouth game. It's been there for a while, and yet in our last home game, he still scored. So he's going to score goals. Martin has not scored a professional goal. Well, I guess he has for Oxford, hasn't he? But you know what I mean. He's not scored goals at this level. I do think we've got to get support around him. I would choose a different formation as well. But it's pointless talking about it because, as you say, we are going to get the Moyes formation, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just tries to go for a shutout in this. So whilst we're here trying to figure out who he should play up front, I don't think it matters. I think Moyes will look at the injury list and think, do you know what, a point here is a good point.
Do you think he'll risk Antonio Gonzo, or would you risk Antonio from the start on this one?
Yeah, I would, actually. I would. What we're dealing with Antonio, none of us know. It's all been a bit smoke and mirrors, really, all of this Antonio stuff. But we know there's been no big operation. He's not gone for massive surgery that keeps him out for 6 months. So you've got to think it's muscular, or maybe it was just illness. As I've said before, there was a lot of flus and bits and pieces going around. I think with that in mind, it's not like he's going to aggravate something he's just had surgery on. And a dire needs call for dire solutions, and I think this is one of them. So I'd certainly be bringing Antonio in.
Charlie, new man. By the way, if we are to sign a new player, he's got to be signed before noon on Monday to be eligible to play for this one. And as it stands on Sunday evening, it's unlikely unless we've got something going on in the back that no one really knows about. However, a loan deal between now and midday is possible if they really want it to happen. Charlie, our one new player for Joao Mario, would you be starting him for this one? And where would you start him in this one? Well, to be fair, you've cheated a little bit because you've said you'd go 4-2-3-1, so you've just created a role for him. But in David Moyes' system, his 3-5-2, where would you play him? Would you play him where Lanzini was as a second striker, or would you play him as one of the three alongside Noble and Chianti because Obiang's out?
Yeah, if we're playing the formation that we have been, he's one of the three in midfield for me, picking it up and then driving forward and then linking up with whoever to end up being ahead of him. That would be his role in the formation for me, because I think he has the movement and the ability to do something a little bit. You always say about Lanzini, you like seeing him deeper to create for the creators, that sort of thing. Getting the ball forward, giving him the ball and letting him create a little bit, because he's going to be up for it. He's going to want to make an impact, especially with World Cup coming up. So that's the role I would give him in this team.
Gonzo, as we mentioned earlier, Zaha, one of the best players outside the top six, caused us massive issues on our right-hand side at Selhurst Park. Do we need to play Byron for this one, or do you need to rely on Zabaleta and Collins behind him to sort of use their experience to play against his pace?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think in many respects. I know that's sort of not the purpose of the show. It is about what we all think. I think we're getting Zabaleta there, so that's just what's going to happen. I do think you're right. I think he's going to terrorise him, so I think he's going to need cover. If we are playing the formation that we expect him to play, then you've got to expect more help from Kiate to come over there, as well as one of the centre-backs moving across to help him out. He's in for a long, tough afternoon. I know that much, though, because it's like we said about Crystal Palace at the start. They do have square pegs and square holes. So the wingers are fast. They are tricky. You know, the midfielders can pass, the fullback, blah, blah, blah. It's not rocket science. They play a simple game, Palace, but they've the sum of their parts. They can, when on form, execute it quite well. And the wingers are good, so Zabaleta's in for a tough afternoon.
I think he's got to do one of two things. I think he's got to either move Zabaleta. He can then put Zabaleta into, to be honest, I'd be tempted to put him into midfield alongside Martin Noble, in all honesty. That way there's solid defensive cover, which allows Joe Mario to just push on and say, look, go do the attack and stuff. Zabaleta's here. You've got one of the most experienced people in the Premier League behind you. Don't worry about it. You're not going to go away attacking, thinking you've got two midfielders behind you, and all of a sudden Kiati's alongside you, and you're thinking, bloody hell, that's a defensive cover. What's he doing up here? And then that allows Byram in there. And it might just make Crystal Palace think twice a little bit. When they see the team line up, they might, oh, hang on, our game plan of knock it, pass and run sort of out the window a bit here, because Byram can keep up with him. Although he's not the best defensive person in the world, Byram. So that means the second option to me is get James Collins out the right centre-back position. I'm not saying bench James Collins, just move him to somewhere else in that back three and put someone, probably Rice, with a bit of legs in behind Zabaleta, because we saw against Newcastle, Bournemouth, sorry. We saw against Bournemouth, they kept trying to come at Zabaleta, and he was doing really well. And all it took them was once they got the ball behind Zabaleta and ended up in a goal. That's all it's going to take against Crystal Palace if Zaha's on form. Zaha likes a dive. You're just asking for trouble if you let Zaha get in behind Zabaleta and run at James Collins into our box, etc. That is our big, big weakness. Roy Hodgson knows it. He highlighted it in the last game. And the frustrating thing is, Eddie Howe highlighted it on Boxing Day, but we still let the same weakness happen, and they scored from it. We need to sort this out. For me, João Mario has to be key here. Gonzo, is this a lot of pressure on our new signing? He's been here for 5 days or something, and it's sort of, we're all looking at him going, you're the guy that's going to get us everything in this game. It all comes down to you, mate.
Yes and no. I think it was maybe a bad move for him personally to be involved in the cup game. I don't think there's a lot of pressure on him from the fans, because the fans are looking at the club at the moment thinking there's a whole lot. What do you know what I mean? The people are looking at other suspects and other targets. So I think it was quite funny actually, because there's been all this stuff about the board and the owners and all the chit chat in the car park and all the rest of it. And it was almost like Jose Mourinho tactics. You know, when Jose Mourinho do something stupid and deflect away from a team performance or what someone's done, it was almost like that. Now, I don't mean it was conscious, but I thought, well, that's taken a lot of the attention away from Masuaku, hasn't it? It really did. Maybe not in the general media world, but certainly in the West Ham world, he got people criticised him, but a lot of them were still going at the owners. And I just wonder if that's going to deflect slightly and give Mario a little bit of breathing space, whereas the fans won't be casting that much of a critical eye. I think really we're going to be pleased for anything we get from him, because we know, beggars can't be choosers, and we are beggars at the moment. I think we're happy for anything that anyone can produce on the pitch at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's a superb player, and I think he's what we need actually, but he's on over 100 grand a week. When you come to a club like West Ham or anyone outside the top six, on that much money, you've got to hit the ground running almost. You have to make an instant impact. Hernandez has had a few months to do it. He's actually scored a few goals, Hernandez, but still not enough, because he's on. If Hernandez was on 50 grand a week, everybody would be praising him, saying what a signing this is. But because he's on with a bigger magnifying glass, and that's what people are Mario. He's got a very short space of time to make, due to the fact he is valued at 40 million. He's on 100 odd grand a week. Charlie, I mean, the team basically picks itself really. Zabaleta, Collins, Ogbonna, Rice, Creswell, Kiate, Noble, Mario, Hernandez. Only debate is who plays up if we risk Antonio from the start. No, I think that's the only real question for the lineup. But despite the fact that we've got no players, Charlie, are you confident for this one?
I'm more confident than I would be against other teams, just because I think it's the right opposition at the right time. They're struggling for goals. They're struggling to create a lot. And when they're key men, a lot like us, when their key men aren't in form, they don't seem to have an awful lot. And so if we can catch them on one of those days, then yeah, I'm confident. I think we should be able to get in behind and get a goal and actually put them in trouble. So I'm relatively confident. And I think, thankfully, I think it's the right opponent at the right time.
Gonzo?
Well, I think Hodgson is not an adventurous manager. I don't think he might be slightly more adventurous than Moyes, but he's not. He's also a pragmatist. And I think he will look at this as a point as well, a good point. And I think if you've got two managers probably looking into it and thinking it's a good point, then you're probably highly likely to get a draw. So I'm confident that that would happen. I don't think we're so decimated that we're going to get thumped 4-0 by Crystal Palace. Hopefully no one cuts and pastes that later because we've been beaten 4-0 by Crystal Palace. But I think we'll handle them, and I think they'll be happy to get a draw whilst quietly confident they can hit us on the break maybe.
I disagree with Charlie here about the right opponent. I think there's a few times this season we've had the right opponents at the right times. Huddersfield and Swansea at home at the start of the season, for example. But for this one, I don't know. There's something about Palace. They've got that fighting grit and determination about them that Hodgson's installed, that they will fight for every first ball and second ball with heart. And a team like that's dangerous, I think, because it almost removes playing ability to an extent. It thinks, well, you might be better than us on paper. We're going to remove that by turning this into an absolute battle. And we've seen against League One sides that when it turns into that sort of fight, we shy away from it a little bit. And that's what concerns me. But our weakness, we've all known it all season, is pace on the width. That's what Palace possess. They're very direct as well. And we don't have much options. If we've just spoke about our first 11, right, about how it picks itself, who's on the bench? You know, if we do go down, who does he turn to? He has to pick an 18 or 19-year-old essentially and go, right, which one am I going to put on Martinez, who's only scored for Oxford, or putting on a half-fit Antonio, perhaps, if he hasn't started? Maybe you'll have his Hernandez, who's out of form. He doesn't have much options on the bench. If we go a goal down in this one, I'll tell you what, it's going to be very, very difficult. But I agree with Gonzo to an extent. I think both managers, if you offer them a point right now, I think both would take it. Palace have a lot of injuries as well. It's not just us. They have a lot of injuries, but I think our injuries are to more key players. They've still got Zaha. They've still got Saka, who's in form. But saying all that, Charlie, you seem the most confident out of the three of us. I've got a feeling I know what Gonzo's going to be going for. But Charlie, what's your score prediction?
I think 1-0 to us. I think we'll get a relatively lucky goal, but it will be comfortable and not that much of an exciting game. So 1-0 to us.
Probably David Moyes' favourite scoreline, actually. He'll be liking this if he's tuned in. Gonzo, what about yourself?
1-1. I don't ask you where we're going to get the goal from, but I do think 1-1.
I'm struggling with this one. Do you know something? I'm gonna be naughty. I'm gonna go 2-1 Palace. I'm not feeling this one at all. I think Palace are doing good. I've seen some people today saying they got smashed 4-1 by Arsenal in their last game, which is true. But when you go 3-0 down after 13 minutes, the game's over. It doesn't really matter then on when you make those kind of errors. I'm not confident for this one. We've got no players. Our injured 11 would beat our 11 that starts against Crystal Palace. If you took two 11s fully fit, our injured 11 would actually win, I think. Reed, Anajovic, Lanzini, etc. It's too big. But anyway, you guys at home, let us know who you agree with. We've got a West Ham win, a draw, and a Crystal Palace win. One of us are going to be right. That's for sure.
We're always right on this channel.
Someone's correct. We're usually only all wrong when we predict a West Ham win. But if you're going on Tuesday, come down to the boats. They're open from 5 o'clock. You can get your ticket. You have to get your ticket because we've got a capacity, but it's free. It takes 2 seconds to get. It doesn't cost you any money. When you come down, there's donation buckets for Isla. So do donate generously. If you want something for your money, we've got an online auctions program, signed goods, etc. We're aiming to raise £1,000, and if we raise £1,000, we've got a signed Antonio shirt, which we're going to auction off as extra. I think we'll hit the grand though. And the only question is, are you going to be part of it? But anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on Tuesday.